Telltale was a video game development team based in San Rafael, California. The company was founded in July 2004 by former LucasArts developers Kevin Bruner, Dan Connors, and Troy Molander. LucasArts, the company responsible for Curse of the Monkey Island, almost all of the early Star Wars games, and of course the Indiana Jones series, was a company that in its early days focused on adventure-style games. This passion for the genre carried to Kevin, Dan, and Troy as they set up to make a company that took the reins on the adventure category, especially since LucasArts took a huge step back from the adventure game genre around 2005. Telltale had a legendary run of box office smash hits such as The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us, Tales from the Borderlands, and so much more. However, due to reliance on expensive licensed intellectual properties, the company went bankrupt in 2018. Now before we continue any further, I want to explain what this video is going to be about, as I think it's pretty important to get those details off. So two things. One, if you're expecting to hear more about the company's bankruptcy and details surrounding that situation, this is probably not the right video for you. This is going to be more of a recounting of my memories with Telltale from a consumer standpoint and how I viewed things as they were happening. And secondly, if you're expecting more jokes and funny antics like in my previous videos, I would say this one might not be the one for you either, as I plan to focus on getting as in-depth as I can with the details of my experiences instead of jokes per minute and stuff like that. Alright, now that that's all out of the way, let's start with my first encounter with Telltale as a company, The Walking Dead. The year was 2011, sometime during the summer, and a young Biko was obsessed with Call of Duty World at War. I mean, every single second of every single day, I just wanted to hop on COD, guys. I don't know what the problem was. To be fair, I had brokered a deal with my parents outlining that because of my good behavior over the school year, I deserved an entire summer of Xbox Live, which is actually a big part of how I found Telltale in the first place. For whatever reason, I found a lot of pleasure going down the entire list of available demos on the Xbox Live page and just downloading everything. I remember playing the Sleeping Dogs demo like 5 or 6 times. I watched the trailer for Fallout like a million times. I don't know how many times I watched the trailer for Fallout. And then I played a bunch of Wolverine games for some reason. There were so many demos, but one specifically stood out to me. The demo for The Walking Dead Season 1. The demo starts just after Lee's fortunate yet unfortunate accident that led him to Clementine's house. I think what drove me to a keen attraction to this demo over all the other ones is that instead of trying to push as much action into a small amount of time, Telltale seemed to focus on the game's exploration and dialogue instead of the action QuickTime events. The selection for the demo was so superb that it stuck with me enough to recognize it when I went to my local Redbox. Now see, some of you youngins might not know what Redbox is. At the time, Redbox was the one-stop shop. It was the Game Pass, Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Blockbuster, whatever you wanted it to be. It was all of that in one place. If you wanted it, it was there. So anyways, I picked up The Walking Dead. If I remember correctly, I didn't really have expectations for the game. I mean, don't get me wrong, the demo definitely energized me to get the game, but I still wasn't expecting it to be my game of the year or anything. I was just curious as to what was going to happen in the game. I'll say it right here, I have no clue how I got away with playing this game being 11. It was easily one of the most vulgar games I had ever played in my life at the time. And I wasn't in my room either. I played right next to the internet box, which was like steps away from where my dad used to chill. But I digress. When it comes to Season 1 of The Walking Dead, I truly believe it's a masterclass in decision-based adventure games. I was hooked immediately, and I remember playing that game from the moment I put it in to the moment I went off to bed every single day. At that point in my life, I had never seen a game so effortlessly mash a compelling narrative with an intriguing environment filled with depthy characters. The relationship that builds between Lee and Clementine is a central aspect to the game that was unique and emotionally compelling. The decisions you make directly influence how Clementine, a young girl forced to live in a hellish reality, grows and learns. All of this leading to a finale that can only be described as heart-wrenching. I asked my mom if I could re-rent that game for 3 straight days just because I couldn't stop playing it. And as soon as it hit the finale, I was just numb. My emotions were so shot that my 11-year-old brain couldn't even muster up the excitement to play World at War anymore. And see, at the time, I wasn't even on the internet or anything like that, so the idea of a Season 2 didn't even dawn on me at the time. The game was a lot like a fever dream that occurred and sailed away before my eyes. And I think because of that, the game was romanticized in my head all the way up until... It was 2013, like fall 2013, and I finally had a smartphone. I had just moved to a new school, and games were really the only thing on my mind at the time. And don't ask me how I didn't go back and look up Telltale, I truly do not know. Like I said, those 3 days back in 2011 were just like a fever dream to me. It just didn't exist in my mind, so I just never thought to go back and check up on The Walking Dead. But I think the game I was playing the most at that time was Skyrim. This was like the peak of my Skyrim phase, and really the start of my love for gaming as an industry. There were some fantastic games released that year, including The Last of Us, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Cause I'm beautiful, nigga. Maybe if you got rid of that old yee ass haircut you got, you get some bitches on your dick. Oh, better yet, maybe Tanisha will call your dog ass if she ever stop fucking with that brain surgeon or lawyer she fucking with, nigga.
The Stanley Parable, Ultimate Ninja Storm 3, Tomb Raider, Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, all legendary releases in 1 year. So I was really taken by these releases, and I didn't really have my focus on anything outside of that radius. And just when I thought the year couldn't get any better, a game was announced suddenly. My family and I had been on a car ride, and I got a notification on my YouTube feed promoting a trailer for The Walking Dead Season 2.
Things will ever get back to how they were?
Yeah, I'm not sure when, but one day.
I hope it's soon.
Honestly, I don't even know how else to describe my emotions in that moment other than a rush of every single feeling one could have. Every experience from the past season rushed back into my head, and I was beyond excited. I was emotional almost. Now that I was a little older and had a smartphone instead of a sidekick, I actually started to invest interest in development companies behind certain games, which included Telltale. And this started the endless cycle of looking up predictions and community chats surrounding the Telltale games at release. See, Season 2 was the first season where I had followed Telltale's game structure, and if you didn't know, Telltale structures their games in episodes. Every episode takes about a month to produce, so when you sit down to play, you're actually only playing 1/5 of the game. And I liked Season 2. Like, Season 2 had its holes, such as certain decisions not fully mattering, or some characters here and there that I had narrative problems with, but all in all, it was a very enjoyable season and was a good continuation of Clementine's story, as well as being strong enough to fully sell me on being a fan of Telltale to look deeper into what they had in store for the future. After Season 2, I was on the hunt for what I was going to play next from the Telltale team, and I was happy to find The Wolf Among Us, possibly the greatest Telltale game ever created. The Wolf Among Us is set in the year 1986, nearly 20 years before the events of Fables, an American comic book series created and written by Bill Willingham. The series follows various characters from fairy tales and folklore who are trying to live among common humans in bustling New York. I played this a good amount of time after the release of The Walking Dead Season 2. I really don't know why it took me that long to get to it, but nevertheless, I was happy I did. The Wolf Among Us is a must-play masterpiece that I would even recommend over The Walking Dead. You play as Sheriff Bigby Wolf, the renowned big bad wolf from the tale of Little Red Riding Hood, as you investigate a mystery surrounding the death of a fellow Fable. I'll leave it at that just so I don't spoil anything, but trust me, there is more than what meets the eye when it comes to this one. I also want to take a moment here to touch on Telltale's unique art style. It's one that takes a moment to adjust to, but once you see the beauty in the comic book style it presents, it becomes a cornerstone to the experience. And that's especially true with The Wolf Among Us, due to its addition of the 80s style coloring. Everything from the visuals to the soundtrack to the story itself was perfectly done, and I don't use that word lightly. After 3 playthroughs and several rewatches of the series, I still don't have any negatives to pull from the hat when it comes to this game's case. I was fully in love with the title, and to this day, it is an inspiration for even how I story write. It was through this game that I started to delve deeper into voice actors behind the Telltale series, and discovered that a lot of the people you hear in The Walking Dead are also featured on several other games that the team has created.
even though it has been nearly a decade, it doesn't feel like re-entering for me. And I imagine Aaron might feel the same. We became so close with these characters and spent so much time with them, not to mention all the other work we've done with Telltale, that it becomes more like family. The characters, the folks at Telltale we're working with. So it really is, it's like coming home.
It was a heartwarming realization that just goes to show how much care they put into the products. After finishing this one, I just had to bite into another Telltale title, and lo and behold, Tales from the Borderlands was just released by the time I wrapped The Wolf Among Us. Tales is another great honorable mention that I just have to throw out there in the pot of greatest Telltale games. With some of the greatest intro sequences and easily the funniest out of all of Telltale's releases, it was another game that permanently solidified Telltale in my heart up until the company's unfortunate departure. So originally I was going to split the bankruptcy talk and the conclusion into two separate parts, but I just figured I was going to be saying a lot of the same things in both of them. So why not just mash them together? So when I heard the news about the bankruptcy, I actually hadn't been playing a lot of Telltale at that time, if I can remember correctly. And that's really due to the fact that I played like a string of Telltale games that I just wasn't really happy with, which you know, in hindsight now points to what was really going on behind the scenes. I played Game of Thrones, I played the Batman game, and I also played the Guardians of the Galaxy one that they made. I played a bit of the Minecraft one. I didn't finish that one. But, and of course I also played season 3 of The Walking Dead at that time. And yeah, I was just not really feeling those titles. It felt less inspired. It felt like less was being put towards it than, you know, the titles that I fell in love with. And it's funny, you know, and from a bird's eye perspective, I do now see, like, yeah, they should have taken a lot more time to think, can we slow down and make a better product rather than trying to reach our hand out and grab several different things from several different places? Because I know that when they focus, when they really try, they can make something beautiful. And that's why I'm really excited about the next season of The Wolf Among Us that we're getting. I know that is coming out next year, I believe. And yeah, I know that they're gonna knock that out the park because they have to bring it back to their roots. I know that Telltale is also working on The Expanse, which is like a prequel to a sci-fi TV series that they're putting together. I'm excited to see where that goes to. I'm really just excited to see them back in the game. You know, it's never a good thing to see an indie company go under. That's never it's a sad day, especially when they've crafted such beautiful games. I mean, The Walking Dead was definitely, I think, a shift in how, like, the game industry sees narrative storytelling nowadays. I genuinely believe that without Telltale, there wouldn't be as much hype around Life is Strange or you know, the Dark Pictures anthology. Not taking anything away from these series. I actually love Life is Strange. It's one of my favorite series, but I'm saying that Telltale were definitely the trailblazers for showing, hey, this can work and played ball with, you know, some of the AAA big dogs that were running at the time. They actually posted this nice, like, comeback mission statement on their Instagram that I enjoyed reading. It was a good show that, you know, they're getting back on the right track, that they are changing their mindset on the foundation of what they're doing, and that's definitely encouraging. I definitely think that these two games that they're cooking up right now are going to really show out and show what they can do. So I'm very excited. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. If you like the video, subscribe if you like what you're seeing. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I guess this is my outro. I guess it's doing the fade thing now. I guess I'm editing the fade in. Next week, new video.